Today, I'm excited to be joined by one of my Inner Circle members, Michelle Gaffaney-Webb. Michelle is the director of Greenstone Designs, an architectural and design and build practice based in Yorkshire. Now, Michelle's taken the knowledge that she's gained from my Inner Circle and started to set up other businesses and other ventures. However, one of them led to Michelle almost defaulting on a £3.4 million investment that would have seen her lose £5 million worth of property on a development that her and a partner was recently building. Michelle's had to overcome incredible adversity to get to where she is now, and she's going to be sharing with you the different profit margins that she's made by focusing on the quickest, easiest, risk-free way of Michelle making money. So Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi Craig, thank you for having me here. I'm really pleased to be here.
And thank you for joining me, Michelle, because I know that you've got some valuable information that you're going to be sharing with us. Now, before we get started, Michelle, do you just want to give yourself a brief introduction into who you are and what you actually do?
Okay, I'm 53 now, live in East Yorkshire, lived here for about 7 years, 19-year-old son who's about to turn 20, a partner, a dog, and I've got several businesses, Greenstone Design, Northern Line and Waith Hotels.
Amazing. All right. And we're going to be exploring your different businesses throughout this episode. So let's start right at the beginning then, Michelle, with Greenstone Designs, because this is a business that's been established for some time. So start right at the very beginning. Just talk to us about Greenstone Designs and what it actually does.
Greenstone Design is my architectural interior design project management construction business. I started it in 2006 after moving back from the UK. I was in New Zealand for a few years, but I've actually been self-employed since 1992 with an architectural business. But it was the move back to the UK that got me starting with Greenstone.
Okay, so what type of services then do you offer through Greenstone Design?
It's architectural. Basically I offer concept to completion services. So start with the feasibility, concept design, architectural, so planning, building regulations, tender, through to project management and interior design as well. So it's that whole concept to completion, as I call it.
Yeah. Okay, so and this were back in 2006 when you first set this business up, right?
Set Greenstone up, yes, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward then, Michelle, to 2018,
Okay.
because it was in 2018 that we met each other.
Yeah.
And you joined my Inner Circle. So just share a bit of information about why you joined the Inner Circle at that time, because you got this established business, you're doing pretty well at that time. So why did you need the Inner Circle?
I'd never really done a lot of networking. I work on my own most of the time, so I'm very sort of remote and quite introverted. So I felt that I needed to get out and network, and then got introduced to you, heard about Inner Circle, and you just started it. You'd done the first Inner Circle 1, and you were advertising for Inner Circle 2. And I went on, you did a trial or a taster, and I just realised how little I knew. It was quite shocking, and realised I needed business coaching, or felt that I needed business coaching, and I hadn't even known what business coaching was. And I've said to you quite a few times since, I wish I'd done it years ago. It's been quite life-changing.
Okay, so what were some of the challenges you were facing then at that point that led you to wanting to get involved and join Inner Circle?
I think probably like most people, you start off running your own business thinking you can do it better than the people you work for. And I'd been running my own business for some time by then. I'd been taught to draw and draft and design, hadn't been taught about finance, systems, delegation, marketing, and it was those things that I knew that I was lacking in, and those things that I realised I needed help in. I just didn't know how to do those. So it was coming on the inner circle that gave me that huge step up and leg up the ladder on those.
Yeah. So throughout your time on the inner circle and on this program, Michelle, I mean, obviously I know what's unfolded since then and your success since then. But going back to 2018, what were some of the most important areas that you did learn on the inner circle and that you did implement into Greenstone Designs that obviously have helped you moving forward?
The big one's mindset, and that's the first thing you teach. And it's, if you haven't got that right, then you're not going to get anywhere really. So having that right, suddenly starting reading all these books, listening to podcasts, listening to online books. I've listened to over 100 now since I met you. And then learning about finance, knowing your numbers, the importance of that, knowing how to read a balance sheet and a profit and loss, and being on top of those, and learning how to set your set your predicted cash flows and follow that, and then through to the systems and the automation, and learning to delegate. I've worked on my own for years and rubbish at delegating, so that's been I'm still learning. Those have been the big things for me.
Yeah, and implementing these into your business back then, what has it allowed you to do with Greenstone? Because Greenstone Designs is not what it was back then now, is it? Because you've evolved and you've grown as a business. So what impact has that made? Positive impact has it made on Greenstone? And then what has that allowed Greenstone to develop and morph into?
Greenstone has grown since then. My systems have hugely improved. I've got automation in place and sort of introducing AI into that as well now. I following the inner circle. I did another financial course because I felt I needed that as well, a profit first course, which I use. It's allowed me to track things properly. I've got QuickBooks set up. I have a bookkeeper now. So we go through everything every Friday. We go through the finances. I mean, that just never used to happen. And I have a team around me now. So I'm learning to delegate slowly. I've got a small team now. So that's just easing off the pressure. I've got a new PA starting tomorrow. So it's really shown me a way forward, a direction which I didn't feel I had. I felt very rudderless with the business and not knowing which way to turn next. And now I've got goals, I've got direction.
Amazing. So at this point then, Michelle, when you joined the inner circle, what were the sort of like turnover and profit margins that you were making back then?
I'd been working on some development. So my turnover the year in 2018 was 90,000. But as we're taught on Inner Circle, I still use the phrase, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. And at the time, I was on a 25% profit margin. It was mostly just me then at the time. So that's changed. The turnover figures change now quite a bit, and the profit margin's still the same for the architecture.
Yeah. Okay. So just explaining a little bit more then about this concept to completion that you offer as a design and build service through Greenstone.
Every project I start every project with a feasibility, and that's vital. I won't take on projects if I don't if a client doesn't want me to do the feasibility, because that sets out excuse the pun, sets out the foundation for the project. So I go into I have quite a long meeting with the client, go into all their likes, dislikes, but also initially go into planning history. Is it conservation area? What are any planning constraints? Ecological, geotechnical. There's quite a substantial list of information I run through to see if the project's viable, a ballpark cost, what they might be looking at. Is it feasible? Can they afford the project? And we go through that first, and then once that is complete, I've got a guideline, a baseline to start the project, and it's only at that point then I go out and do a survey and concept design. So the concept designs, I do a lot of residential work. I also do quite a bit of commercial work now as well. So it's a lot of new builds, residential new builds, extensions, renovations, refurbishments. I've also won this burial barrow project in Nottingham. So that's 3 burial barrows. So that's huge. That's quite a large commercial project. Then we go through to planning application and take the clients through that. Then building regulations and detailed technical drawings, in the interior design, product information, and then through to tendering. If I'm involved in that, some clients want me involved in that, some don't. Some clients have a builder lined up already, and then through to any project management if they want me to do that. Construction project management. So we do offer now construction services as well, and clients are able to dip in and not dip in and out, but they can stop at any stage that they want to.
Yeah, amazing. So as Greenstone as a business has grown, your systems, your procedures, your team, the services that you're offering's now started to grow and morph. So in terms of turnover now then, Michelle, are you happy to share sort of like what the turnover you're at now for Greenstone?
I've just finished this financial year. The turnover was 205,000, and the net profit margin is 25% again. So that's been quite consistent.
Brilliant. So you've gone from 90,000 to over 200,000 in turnover, and I think I'm right in saying this. You're no longer necessarily now that, pardon the pun, but that busy fool that I talk about, are you?
No, I mean I am very busy. I've got a few other things going on, but no, that I've really taken that on board. Being that busy fool is it's something I was doing for something I was being for a very long time.
Yeah. And something that we go through on Inner Circle is, and one of my sort of like, let's say, popular phrases is, what is the quickest, easiest, risk-free way of being able to make money within our game and our industry? And this, I suppose, leads us nicely over to what you transitioned over to with Barclay Firth, because you've got Greenstone now doing, very well. And then Barclay Firth came along with sort of like bigger high ticket sales and bigger turnovers and expected bigger profit margins. And I'd just like you to share, if you will, the experience that you went through with Barclay Firth. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Barclay Firth is my partner's company. So over the years of working together, working on projects, doing the architecture and the building regs and the tendering on his projects, basically it just ended up working more and more inside his business. And that happened about the same time I started Inner Circle. So I made a decision after starting Inner Circle. I originally joined for Greenstone, and then I swapped and sort of concentrated on Barclay Firth. So Greenstone had done the architecture side, but then I didn't really take on any other projects and put all my efforts into Barclay Firth, which is a property development company. So we had a project at that time that it was a site for 10 new builds in West Yorkshire. The site was a sort of a large back garden site. It was 2.2 acres. It had one house in it, and then just this huge piece of land behind. So I did Greenstone did the planning for that. So originally it had planning for 8 very large houses, 3,500 square foot houses. They were just too big for the area. They wouldn't have sold very well. They'd have taken a long time to sell. So part of the appraisal that I do initially is, the market appraisal, market research to see what's going to sell. It's pointless building houses if they don't sell or nobody wants them, those kind of houses in that area. So we went back into planning, and I redesigned the site, and designed 10 houses at about 2,000 square foot each. They were 2 different house types. That there was a opposition locally to that. It ended up going to committee, and we got planning approval, but that took a year, that process. So there's on developments, there's a lot of office work and admin that goes in before you even start on site, and it's quite typically been about a year of work. And then we got permission, and then started on site we got permission in April 2019, and we started on site in July of 2019.
Okay, so I think many people watching or listening to this that's in trades industry, and me included, we've all had this vision or this thought of getting into property, right? Whatever that looks like. But you've really gone for it here, haven't you? Because you've gone from turning over, a couple $100,000 at that time to now morphing into a large development company, designing and building 10 brand new build houses on your own site. So obviously I know it's through Berkeley Firth, but how did all this come about? How did you acquire the land? How much did it cost you to get hold of that land in the first place?
The site was Berkeley Firth had just finished 4 houses, literally several houses away. So they'd just built 4 houses, and I was at the time separate from Berkeley Firth then, and Greenstone. I designed those houses and done site visits and things. And then this site came up for sale. And we thought it had been sold, and the site board disappeared. And then by the time we'd finished the 4 houses, the site board came back up, and my partner put an offer in, negotiated on the price, and the board had actually just gone back up that day. So it was just a coincidence, happened to see the signboard go back up. Ended up buying the site for £950,000, which for 10 plots is a good size, is a good figure. So it's under £100,000 a plot, and then didn't have the full funds to buy the site, so entered into a JV, a joint venture with a lender, with a private equity lender. So ended up doing a joint venture on the site. So with a joint venture, they put up the funding. Then there's and you borrow money to build the site, and then you split the profit at the end.
Right. Okay. Now, obviously, I know how this unfolds, but it sounds great. It sounds brilliant. And again, going back for people like me that want to get into property and things like that, building your own 10 houses sounds great. But then something happened, didn't it, that really threw a big spanner in works for you. So do you want to share what that was?
Well, I think for everybody, COVID happened. So we got onto site in the July 2019, started site clearance. There was quite a bit of site clearance to do. Also then started the groundworks and drainage and everything. Obviously March 2020, we had we had all 10 houses out of the ground. You bring up your foundations and bring them up to ground floor slab level together, and then started on the masonry, on the stonework on them. It was a natural stone that we bought from a quarry up in Scotch Corner, and COVID happened, and just mass panic like everybody, I think. We had, luckily, because things were sort of in the news, I'd ordered in stone. I was doing a lot of the material orders. I'd ordered in enough stone to finish the houses. But the site got shut down. My partner literally went into the fetal position because he had borrowed £3.4 million from a private lender on the site. So that was at stake. Obviously, the whole business was at stake. No one knew what was happening. It was just, it was several days of panic, and tears were shed. To say it was stressful was an understatement. Things quickly changed. Within a week, the Construction Council issued guidelines for working on sites, and construction sites were one of the things that could continue. So I literally a week later reopened the site. In that time, we put together all the documentation that we were told we needed, with signage, working 2 meters apart, what subcontractors could work where, and you couldn't have more than two people in a house, keeping the working distances, all the regulations about hand wash and everything. So we got all that onto the site, and the subcontractors started to come back. Not all of them came back. It was up to them. We gave them that choice. But they wanted to work, and as I was a director of Greenstone and my partner's a director of Berkeley Firth, we got no government help at all, other than having to take out a bounce back loan. But the contractors on site all got offers of help, which that was hard. We're paying their wages, and so that was difficult. But it carried on, so things got going again. At that time as well, we had offers on 5 houses. And we'd agreed sales in principle on 5 of the houses. That all just fell away. Things stopped. People didn't know what was going to happen. Were house prices going to crash? How long was this going to go on for? So we lost the sales basically. So that, frightening as well. The estate agent shut, so no one could do any viewings for months. So we just literally started to have viewings. We had a big list. We'd done all our marketing. We had a invited to view list and a waiting list for people to view the houses. We lost a lot. So that was scary. It was scary times, and we then basically got started again. The build took 6 months longer than we anticipated, and by August of 2020, we had sales coming back into being completed, and we were 1 week away, or Berkeley Firth was 1 week away from defaulting on the loan of £3.4 million. Wow. Had that happened, the lender would have taken the site off us, and that was it. We'd have lost everything. And it literally 1 week away, 2 sales went through and completed, and saved it, and we didn't go. Berkeley Firth didn't default. And within a couple of months, we had 5 more sales in. We actually sold all the houses by the following April, but by the December of 2020, we'd sold 9 of the 10 houses. But it was, I know everyone went through incredibly stressful times, and it was financially, lots of sleepless nights, lots of sleepless nights.
Well, Michelle, I can imagine, because, rewinding, you've borrowed 3.4 million, right? Mm-hmm. You've still got to pay your loan back. You've still got to pay all your interest back. You're getting no help. Everything's come to a grinding halt. Material prices went up for everybody as well. So how did you deal with that then, with material prices going up?
Yeah. You sort of look back and smile now, but it basically materials, some materials shot up 10 times in value. Steelwork was horrendous, plaster. There ended up being a sort of a black market in plaster and plasterboard, and hearing of people queuing up at the back of merchants and only being allowed one pallet of plaster at a time, or so many bags of plaster at a time. We had stocks of material on site which we were guarding, because we did lose a load of copper from site. Somebody stripped out the copper at one point. We had to put all that back. We were terrified we were going to lose all this plaster and materials. We had to change materials, change the spec. Stone that we were paving stones that we purchased or had ordered weren't arriving. I actually had to completely change those out. Costs skyrocketed. Materials, plumbing went up 50%. Mason, timber went up. All the timber, everything shot up in price. Labourers wanted more money as well. So most of it was fixed contracts. And some of it wasn't. We had our own guys who were sort of self-employed, and labour costs went up. House prices did go up as well, but they didn't go up the same percentage as all the materials and the labour.
Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with you around that time, and it was incredible, as you can imagine, incredibly stressful. 1 week away from defaulting on your payments and literally losing all that hard work and all that stress and everything that you went through. It was a torrid time for you, weren't it?
It was, yeah, and I'm smiling now, but you get through it. But at the time, yeah, it was absolutely terrifying, to be honest. Yeah, many nights of 3-4 hours sleep at most, just not being able to sleep.
Yeah. So in terms of numbers, then we've gone through numbers for Greenstone and how far you've come with that. How did this development end up then? Because again, going back to that, I suppose it's a bit of an ego thing that many trades, men and women have got, that, oh, look at me, I've bought a plot of land, I'm building 10 new builds on, look at me, how amazing it all is. And then something happens like that to you with COVID. So are you happy to share the numbers of sales and profit margins on such a vast and massive project?
Yeah, sure. So GDV, which gross development value, which is the total number of sales, came to 5.05 million. Which, yeah, like you say, on a turnover, that sounds brilliant, amazing. So, developers saying I've got a pipeline of 5 million, it doesn't mean what it sounds like. So we did a joint venture, or my partner, had signed up for a joint venture. When you do a development, and any development you do, everyone else gets paid first. So obviously all your contractors get paid, then the bank gets paid, or your private lender, your private equity lender gets paid, and then the money doesn't come to us, it goes through solicitors, obviously, when you're selling, and then we get paid what's left after all the interest has been paid. So there was several £100,000 of interest on a loan like that. So it's normally 1% a month. I think it was 1.14% a month interest on the loan, and obviously the loan carried on for 6 more months than it should have. So once everyone was paid off, we got a profit of 435,000, which it sounds amazing, and it was amazing. It's an amazing lump sum to get in the bank, and it works out at around, I believe, around 8% profit on the project, and that was 3 years of work, and then obviously that goes into the company, and that was split. It wasn't split between us. The money had to go back into the company. We'd gone through COVID, so things had got pretty dire, and I took £5,000 out of that. So yeah, 3 years of hard work, 7 days a week, and for £5,000 that I took out of the company in profit.
Wow. I mean, that's not a lot, is it? For 3 years of your life, all that stress, all that hassle, and everything that you had to go through, and then you look at it, and £5 million worth of sales, and you end up with £5,000.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decision to leave that money in the company. But as you know, your company's got overheads, and there's other things you want to do. So when you're in property, the sort of the people I now associate with, and people I call friends, in property, you're always rolling it up to the next project. You're always putting the money back in rather than taking it out. So then that's what we did.
Yeah, a big lesson learned, Michelle, but to a certain extent, some of that were outside your control because of what happened with COVID. Would you do it again? Would you do something on that scale ever again?
I would, but what I'm doing now is laying the foundation for that. I've got no desire to jump back into another development straight away now. Because of what I've now gone on to do, and the sort of the lessons I've continued to learn. So yeah, it was a massive learning curve. It was fantastic. I'm really proud of the houses. We won Best Residential Build of the Year for 2020 in Yorkshire, under 50 builds. So that was amazing. The houses are fantastic. People who live in them love them. It's a great development. But it takes its toll. It really does take its toll, mentally on you, and financially. When you're rolling it back in all the time. We could have, I guess, we could have just taken that money and had a great old time, but it's wanting to put it back into the business and do better. There's always lessons learned.
Yeah. So when you look at it, then you look at Greenstone at that point is turning over far less, but the profit margins are coming in at 25%.
Yeah.
Then you look at a big development, £5 million, and the profit margins are around 8%.
Yeah.
So looking at this then, at the two, the quickest, easiest, risk-free way of making money, clearly at this point, it's still with Greenstone because the profit margins are high and you've got nowhere near as much risk involved.
That's right. Yeah, no, that is right. It's a, I wanted to do the developments, but with what I know now, I do, I now do things quite differently. And it's, you learn on every project. Years in the business still, I'm always learning, always improving, hopefully. So.
Yeah. Okay, so this now takes us over to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2021, you had a bit of a wake-up call, didn't you? Something happened. So do you want to share how the story continues to unfold on your journey?
Yeah, well, in 2021, I turned 50, and I didn't think it was going to be a big thing. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm turning 50. And it actually really got to me. It really hit me hard. And I know a lot of people say that, a lot of women, a lot of men say the same thing. But yeah, my own mortality hit me. I've got with the whole motivation thing, I listen to a lot of people. I love Alex Hormozy, Tony Robbins. You listen to your podcasts. I've got a lot, now Chris Williamson and Diary of a CEO, and just time. It was frightening how quickly time was going. I, head down, really busy, and the years are flying by. My son's grown up. He's at that point was near to finishing school, and excuse me, and he was going off to university, and I saw on something. One of the personal development things I was doing was a sheet with 52 squares along a row and then 90 columns. So it was a square for every week of your life. And I've got that. I've still got that. I've now been doing that for a couple of years. And I coloured in the squares and coloured in over half of it. And that's what frightened me. That coloured in over half, and I still use that now. Every Sunday I colour in another little square, and I find it. Some people find it morbid. I actually find it motivating. So every week counts. Every day counts. And I realised that I had been doing things for other people for years and years. I am a bit of a people pleaser, or I was, and hadn't gone after really what I wanted to go after. So I took some time to think about what was it I really wanted to do. My son is everything, and I know I've given everything I can to giving him a life that I didn't have. And it was like, okay, so what do I want to do? I wanted to stop putting all my eggs in one basket. I wanted to go back and do work for me rather than feeling like I was working for somebody else or in someone else's business. I wanted to concentrate on my business. And I'd always wanted to do property investment since my 20s, and never really got into it. I'd moved countries several times, done homes up, sold, most homes that I've refurbished, I literally had sold within a week they'd been sold. So I never enjoyed living in a home that was finished. And Greenstone was my bread and butter, my business. So I decided to put all my efforts back into that and the property, and look at how I could do property investing, but properly, the right way.
So talk to us about your move over into property education then, because I'm guessing this is around 2022, something like that.
Yeah, it was literally 2 years ago. Sorry.
Yeah. So how did this unfold then?
I started looking at, okay, how, who's out there, who's teaching about property. I felt like I needed to go back to basics. I'd got some business coaching. It's like, okay, now it's time to get some property coaching. Um, and that's when I joined a property investment property group that were offering one-on-one training. I did a long weekend course. They had been around for a while, and I invested money into a year's training for one-on-one coaching into all the different strategies, learning about all the different strategies of property. And by strategies, they mean by strategies, you mean, buy to lets, single lets, blocks of buy to lets, renovations and flips, and serviced accommodation, HMOs, commercial conversions, and then developments and serviced accommodation. So it's and those form a learning about those form a triangle with the buy to lets at the bottom, and it gets harder and more technical as you go up the pyramid. And it turns out that's when I found out people were saying to me, "Oh, you've done the pyramid upside down." When you asked what I'd done, and I said, "Oh, I've done developments," and I didn't know what the pyramid was. So I very quickly, within a day, realised that I hadn't got that foundation of knowledge underneath. So that was quite eye opening.
Yeah, because on that property pyramid, they teach you out sort of like buy to lets as the basics,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
then you're building on top of that. You've got your flips, serviced accommodation, commercial conversions, and then sat right at the top, the pinnacle,
Yeah,
the development side that you've already done.
which I started with. And it was very obvious then that I hadn't got that, again, pun, that foundation under me. So when you're doing the developments, most developments, or certainly development of 10 houses, as I said, can take 3 years, because it can have a year in the office. And yeah, I got paid for the planning and the building regulations, but you then don't earn any money at all until you've sold that last house. And on developments, it's normally the last few houses, depending on the size of the development, that is your profit. So you don't get paid until that very last house is sold. So if you start off with other strategies and have other strategies underpinning what you're doing, you've got that cash flow coming in that can see you through those bigger one-off developments that take the time to complete.
Yeah, and from memory, you didn't really have a good experience with the coaching side, did you? What with the
No,
property side?
no. The company I put the money into, that was in the October, and well, that was the October we signed up for it, and it kicked off early December with the coaching. And we did about social housing, and that's something I'm really keen to get involved in, and HMOs. And then we would have weekly training as well, so online Zooms, and then there would be these intense 2-3 day Zooms that would go on all weekend to sort of work on the training. And then the company went into administration. And I paid £12,500 for the year for the coaching, one-to-one mentoring, and within a few months it was just gone. And it then turned out that this company had done this several times. So it's a property company that had gone bust in buying property, basically, and they'd gone bust for £3 million. So yeah, that was quite a kick in the teeth. There were a lot of us. I mean, there were thousands of us that lost money. And yeah, they'd done it a few times before. So it was that was another hard lesson. So I check everyone out now, thoroughly before I sign up for anything anymore. But yeah, due diligence again. You learn a lesson. Everything's a lesson.
Yeah, you've had some big lessons to learn,
Yeah,
haven't you, over this last few years?
yeah,
All right. Well, listen. Let's come back to the property side because that ties in nicely with where you're at now in your businesses.
yeah,
But
yeah. I so I then found I've been following another property networking group for some time, or following the person who fronts it, owns it, and that's Prosperity Network in Warrington, and they're incredible. I then joined that. I should have joined that to start with, but I sort of sat and watched from the sidelines. And I've been on networking groups with them. I've met some amazing people. There's a lot of BS in property, a lot of bullshit. A lot of people on social media that they've done this, that, and the other. They've got a pipeline of this, a pipeline of X million, and they haven't done it at all. A lot of them have sort of done things once and then run a course on it. You see that a lot. The people I've met at Prosperity have been amazing, incredibly supportive. Everyone's really supportive. It's just a really nice networking group, and everyone's in the same boat. You know, everyone's at one point, starting off with the buy-to-lets, and you've got people doing that all the way through to people doing multi-million-pound developments. So you're in a room with people who are actually doing it. And so that's great. And there's a couple of other things I was on a course yesterday actually for 3 hours, a networking property course for 3 hours. So I'm still doing that. Still doing that. Trying to learn as much as possible. And then I went on a course about apart hotels about 18 months ago. That was in February, and that was an eye opener, and that just really gripped me. Because when one of the first things we did in a circle with you was our vision board, and I'd never done that before, and I still have a vision board now. It's actually still got a lot of the same things on it. I've just added to it, and putting on your goals, and it's great to see those goals achieved and checked, and they also change over time, but one of the goals I have on my vision board is a spa hotel, and so this apart hotel idea quite gripped me. So
Well, I tell you what, Michelle, let's stick with the apart hotel, seeing as though we're on with it now, and let just explain to us sort of like how this has come about then. And well, tell you what, let's start off with what is an apart hotel, because I didn't know until you told me what one was. So what is one?
An apart hotel is a hotel. So under planning, it's a C1 classification. So it is a hotel. However, the rooms are more like apartments. So the rooms have kitchens in them. They're all en suite. They have kitchens. So there's quite a number of them about now. It's taking off. So people it's serviced accommodation, but on a bigger scale. Rooms have kitchens or a shared guest kitchen, so a little bit like an HMO, but it's not. It is commercial. It's not residential. So I have there's in-house housekeeping. So there's daily housekeeping still. There's laundry, obviously doing your laundry as well, and it's people being self-sufficient and staying for one night, or it could be a couple of months, depending on what someone's doing.
So it's an unstaffed hotel, subject to your laundry obviously being cleaned.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so that's another main point. It's keyless entry, so there's no reception, there's no front of house staff at all. It's all the door locks are automated smart locks. So when a booking is made online, the way I've set the system up with my team, and my team has obviously helped set this up, is it's all automated. So 60 seconds after a booking is made, a series of emails and texts go out, and we do both. We double up to make sure people have got the emails and the messages, and then it's sent out a registration form, and then you can put on there, if you've got any likes or dislikes. I've got a pillow menu, so I've got a choice of 6 pillows, and things like that. So we've got quite a few options on the registration form for things that you can opt in and out of. And then once that's filled in, you'll then get you get sent a door code and your room number. So you get a 4-digit PIN code. So then when you turn up at the hotel, you put in the 4-digit PIN code. That gets you in the front door, and it gets you in your room door. There's no need for reception.
Yeah. And I find that amazing. I really do. And since you shared it with me a few weeks ago, I've been saying to Sarah, my wife, I tell you what our next investment's going to be, an apart
Okay.
hotel.
Okay.
Honestly, because when you think about it, going back to what we've been sharing all along, what is the quickest, easiest,
Yeah.
risk-free way of making money? You know, you've got an hotel that's sat there that's an asset, right?
Yeah.
That's building value.
Yeah.
There's no staff. You just systemize and automate the whole out of the back end like you've done.
Yeah.
And then you bring in a VA or somebody like that to help you. That's all you need, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've got in-house housekeeping. A lot of people who do this sub that out to a cleaning company, and the laundry I do in-house as well. However, a lot of people do hire in. You can hire in the laundry and have a company come and collect it and do all your bed changes and things like that. So there's various ways of doing it. When I've costed it out, I found for me what works for me is to have the in-house laundry, and the housekeepers are salaried. So I've got 2 housekeepers who are just worth their weight in gold. They really are.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had a spa hotel on your vision board.
Yeah.
You've been on your property education, and you've learned all about this, albeit you've done it a hard way around because you've done a 10 new build development to start off with. So where just share with people then, where is your apart hotel?
It's in Goole, in East Yorkshire, and when I tell people it's in Goole in East Yorkshire, quite a lot of people look at me like I'm mad, because Goole doesn't have, unfortunately, sadly, doesn't have a great sort of image, but it's changing massively. So that was part of my research. I spent quite a few months researching areas, and Goule's about 20 minutes away from me, and it's an up and coming area. It's a huge amount of investment going into the area, and that formed part of my research. So it's researching your area, researching the demand. What's your competition in the area? What rates are you likely looking at? And then trying to find something that suits what it is you're looking for, and being open-minded into what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. You shocked me when you said that you'd bought an hotel.
I shocked a lot of people.
I saw a post go on Facebook, and I said to Sarah, I said to Emily, I said, Michelle's bought an hotel. And I thought, why have you bought an hotel? That sounds like hard work to me, because when I look at hotels, I'm thinking you need staff. So you need a receptionist, you need someone to do cooking the meals, you need obviously cleaners and maintenance, you need somebody pulling your pint. There's so many people that go into running an hotel, and then when you said it's like unstaffed, I'm like, that's genius.
And I mean, it's because it's not 100% unstaffed, but my housekeepers are there several hours a day, every day. And but the way we run the system with the hotel management software, and the VA I've got a very small team, but they're incredibly efficient, and we've got a system. It was months of hard work to get it all up and running, but that's I've got my blueprint now, to how we would do things again, or how we will do things again for the next one.
Yeah. And rewinding to what you learned on Inner Circle, that were all around, a lot of that were around systems and procedures and team, and being able to delegate so that you can, what's the quickest risk-free way of making money? And now you've nailed it.
Hopefully. I'm never going to say I've nailed it, but yeah, we're learning new things all the time. But it's certainly I'm really happy with the how it's going so far. It's early days. We've been open. We're in our 4th month now. We're partially open. We're not fully open yet. We're still finishing the renovation. So, but it's open, it's operating.
Amazing, amazing. So if you look at numbers, then we go back to Greenstone.
Yep.
We're over 200,000. We're 25% profit margin.
Yep.
We look at the big development, 5 million, yeah, for 8% profit margin.
Yep.
We're now looking at apart hotels, Michelle. So what are you happy to share the numbers and the stats on your apart hotel?
Yeah, I bought it for 400,000. I've spent now 200,000 on the renovation. And I've yet to have the commercial valuation. I've done a prepared evaluation pack. I've got an idea, a very strong idea of what it should be valued at. So for when I come to remortgage it or come to refinance it, because it's on a bridging loan at the moment. And then the predicted cash flow based on occupancy numbers, and I've been quite conservative on that. So I've based that on 50% occupancy, and we're achieving just over that now in month 4. So that's good. And that will apart hotels and hotels can be seasonal, so you have to be prepared for that to dip down to possibly 25% occupancy in the winter, and then you could be up at 90% in the summer, so it levels out at around 50%. So the predicted cash flow on that is between 250 and 550,000 a year. And with the predicted profits are over 50%, nearer 60%, but I will know that in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
And I've gone from, with Greenstone and the developments, I've gone from working 7 days a week on those businesses for months while I was setting the hotel up. It's been crazy hours, and you have to put the work in. It is 7 days a week. It was 7 days a week and 14-15 hour days, and it was exhausting. But by month 4, where we're at now, I spend 1 day a week in the hotel.
Yeah.
And we're in profit in month 4. So I'm that's going how I hoped, thankfully.
Yeah, amazing, Michelle. I mean, we get to a point now where we're looking at these numbers going, up to maybe 500,000 turnover with 50 to 60% profit margins. So
Yeah.
this is now raking in more profit than any other type of business that you've had or you've got. And it's only taking you 1 day a week.
It is now, yeah, and then that's yearly. So with the developments, you work for 3 years and you get a lump sum payout, which is it can be a huge lump sum. With the apart hotel, you could be looking at those figures every year, and once you've got it set up for 1 day a week in the hotel.
Yeah.
So it's a huge, just a massive difference. It's a strategy that I want to continue, and I'm already looking for more hotels, more opportunities.
Well, my next question was looking at them numbers and them figures then. So what's the next plan then for these apart hotels?
Well, the company's Waith Hotels, and I purposely made it hotels because I want more than one. And my aim is to have four hotels running. Waith is my son's middle name, and he's been involved as much as he can be while he's at university. So he's got a keen eye on things and helping in areas where he can as well. So yeah, the idea is to definitely have at least 4 hotels over the next few years and see where that takes me. I've been in discussions with somebody about a spa hotel. I mean, that's a way off yet, but you never know. Never say never.
Yeah. Michelle, knowing you, that will happen. Knowing you, that will happen. When? Who knows? But okay. So, but it doesn't stop there, does it, this journey? Because whilst you've been building the apart hotel and you've had all this lot going off, you've bolted on another service onto Greenstone, which again is a nice, profitable service, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is, and that's been just over a year now as well. I It was actually, I remember it was torrential rain. I was driving to a client's house, and got a phone call that I answered. I don't normally answer numbers I don't know, but did answer it, and it was a wrong number. The person calling me is actually looking for another company, also called Greenstone. And we got chatting, and the lady's actually since become a very good friend of mine. Got chatting, and she had a kitchen company. It was worked for a kitchen company, and asked if I designed kitchens, and I said, well, actually, I do. Because I love designing kitchens. I design them when I do work on homes for people, and quite often a lot of the work that I'm involved with, or when I've learned from you actually, is learning your KPIs and who your target market is, and your market research. I realised very quickly that most of the work I had in for renovations, everyone wanted a new kitchen. So I was designing the outline of a kitchen, and how that flowed, because that's so important with the room. And then I would hand it over to another kitchen company to fully design out and to sell a kitchen. So I said that, and that's what I was doing. And she said, well, do you fancy taking it that step further then, and working with us, and design them fully out and sell them. So that's now what I do. I've now got a kitchen showroom with 100 kitchens in it. They're stunning kitchens, really high quality kitchens. Really a mix of modern and traditional. And I now take on the full design of that, and really enjoy it. Actually, really like it.
Yeah. I mean, what an amazing sort of like conclusion, really, in the fact that you've had a lot of, let's call it bad luck with COVID, right? And paying 12.5 grand to a coaching company for your properties that went bust. And all of a sudden you get this random phone call that you don't normally answer. And now it's led to you having your own showroom with 100 quality kitchens inside it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, it is. It's yeah. I really I really enjoy designing them. Getting into I've done a kitchen with I've got a couple of kitchens with sort of built-in seating and built-in dog beds. I've just done built-in dog bowls, cubby holes for the robot Hoover. Just getting into. I love just getting into the detail and what's possible.
So with the kitchens then, what's the plan to grow the kitchen side? Obviously you've got your showroom with 100 kitchens in. So
Yeah.
what's the evolution of the kitchen side of Greenstone?
It's to carry on and grow that. I'm in the process of just building up a marketing campaign around that. At the moment, the kitchens I design really sort of part of the interior design. They form part of the interior design service that I do. So it's led by getting in having a client who wants an extension or a renovation or a new build, and then I happen to do the kitchen as well. And now I'm starting to push the kitchens. There's a lot of people doing kitchens. It's quite a tough market, but it's something I'm now looking at marketing even more, and bathrooms as well. I've just this morning just sent off some bathroom designs to a client. So I've gone from with the kitchens, I've gone from that to bathrooms and other things as well, tiles and all sorts. So I'm offering all those as well now. So it's sort of grown quite a bit in the last year.
And the numbers on the kitchen side then, Michelle, because obviously, you now know that time is money, and we don't trade as time for money anymore, like on the development of 10 houses. So I'm guessing the profit margins on these kitchens should be a decent profit margin, or otherwise you won't be trading your time for money in it, would you?
No, that's right, and the profit margins can be anywhere between sort of 25 to 50% on the kitchens. However, it's such a quick, faster turnaround. So you're dealing with smaller numbers. well, to be honest, a lot of the time you're not dealing with smaller numbers because people will pay a lot more for the kitchen than they will the architecture. And the way architecture is now and the industry is now, the kitchens are not wishing to dumb it down, but it's so much easier to design a kitchen than it is to design a home, and quicker. You could spend months, you could spend a year designing an extension and working through the processes, and a kitchen can be done in a week. And so it's just so much quicker. And the responsibility and the accountability is so different from the architecture. It's still there, obviously, it's vitally important, but the pressure in architecture now is immense.
Yeah, yeah. And and I'm going to keep coming back to this phrase, quick, easy, risk-free ways of making money. So yeah, the kitchens might not be a 300 grand property that they're buying,
Yeah.
but the turnover of them and how quick and easy it is to turn them over with a higher profit margin, it's worth doing.
It is, yeah, it is, it's again another thing. You always wish you'd known things sooner. I wish well, the opportunity had come along sooner, but it's good. It's great because I do love designing them. It's one of those things that, one of some of the coaching you've done and other business coaching I've had is, do the things that you love doing. And that's one of them. It really is.
Yeah, amazing. Wow, what a journey. What a journey you've been on, Michelle.
It has been. It has been. The architecture now. I know I've talked to you about it before. That with the regulation changes, and the legislation, and it's got incredibly stringent, which is a good thing. After with the Grenfell report out last week, but the responsibility and accountability and the planning processes are soul destroying in this country, absolutely soul destroying, and it's got worse and worse. I've got colleagues my age who have been in the industry as long as I have, and they all want to leave the industry. They all want to leave the construction industry. I worked out last week, when I was sort of doing a little bit of research before we spoke, and the average architect's average architectural salary is worse than you'd earn more money being on site. You really would. And for what is required of you, and the legal requirements and the emphasis on the what you're liable for legally, it's you've got to question if it's worth it.
Yeah, but the thing that you've now done, Michelle, which you started off at the beginning of this podcast saying, is you haven't got all your eggs in one basket anymore, have you?
No, and that's the big thing. It's spreading that risk, and that's what I didn't do at the beginning. I had all my eggs in one basket, and now what I'm building on is multiple streams of income. So if one gets hit, if something happens to one, you've got something else. And then when you work for yourself and when you're in property, that is absolutely key. Is diversification. Don't just, I'm not going to do just apart hotels in case something happens to those. If we have another COVID or something, or you've got to be prepared. So there's other property strategies I'm looking at as well, to make sure I have that diversification, but having the kitchens as well, having greenstone as well, and there's a few other things I'm looking at as well. So
amazing. So just to wrap this up then, Michelle, on this incredible journey, right? You've just given a little bit of advice out there about, not keeping all your eggs in one basket, which I think is sound advice. But if you could give a piece of advice to any fellow trades or construction, architectural business owner that's watching or listening to this episode, what would it be?
Have a mentor. I regard you, and regarded you as a mentor, and I still do. Someone who's done it as well, not someone who's just done it once and check them out. But have a mentor, have business coaching. I think everyone who runs a business, and this is just my view of it. I'm not saying this is right, but my view is have coaching, because you do not know it all, and you need to learn so many things when you first set up a business. You're doing everything, and you need to learn how to not do everything, how to delegate. And you need that support around your mindset as well, because that's just absolutely fundamental. Being I only know construction and property. I don't know any other industry. I've done this since I left school, but it can be crushing. It's an emotional roller coaster. It has amazing highs and it has incredible, really bad lows, and it's tough. It's really tough, and running any business is really tough. And having that and backing yourself, knowing that when things go to shit, and when things get really tough, that you got the faith in yourself to know that you're going to make it. It is for me, it's about resilience and grit, and just keep going, and trust yourself. And you've talked about it a lot, and I in prosperity, they talk about it a lot, in that things get really hard before the breakthrough, and really hard, and that's when most people back out, and most people stop and give up and retreat back into that comfort zone. And it's having that support around you to push through it. I think that's what it's been for me, and I feel like that is, it's starting to, always wary of how we say, but I feel like it's starting to get there. The hotel is has been that way through, and another one is, if you haven't failed, you're not trying, because no one gets through a business without failing. No one survives without things going to shit at one point at a time.
Yeah, no, great advice. And that word resilience that you just mentioned, knowing you personally, Michelle, I know what you've been through behind the scenes. If there's anybody that sums up the word resilience, it's got to be you, because you never, ever, 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 ever quit on anything.
Failure is not an option. I know I just said about failure, but I have a fridge magnet from the Air and Space Museum that failure is not an option. And from that point of view, I just mean not giving up. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. If lots of sort of quotes, but if you shoot for the stars and miss, you've still gone a long way.
Absolutely. So, Michelle, I'm sure there's going to be people watching or listening to this episode that may want to reach out for you for some inspiration or even a bit of knowledge. So, what's the best way of people being able to contact you?
I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, and Facebook as well, and Instagram. And then there's obviously the Greenstone website if it's about architecture or kitchens, and then obviously the hotel, the Briarcroft in Goole, for Waith Hotels. So there's a number of ways to reach out to me, if I can give anyone any advice or help.
Amazing. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for giving up your valuable time. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks. Thank you again for having me.
Well, what a roller coaster ride Michelle has been on since setting up in 2006. But as we can hear from her now, she's now implementing what I've taught her on the Inner Circle by looking at the quickest, easiest, risk-free ways of Michelle being able to make profit for the least amount of time, and now focusing on the profit margins and the risk involved in each business or venture she's involved in. Now, if you are interested in finding out more about my Inner Circle marketing and business coaching program and the benefits to you and your business, please click the link in and around the description and the show notes of this episode and head over to find out more about our Inner Circle. And remember, the results that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. I'll see you on next week's episode. Thank you.